honestly don't know where to start with this one, but a local Florida man, Justin Harvey, is calling on the Brevard County Commissioners to open a full investigation into NASA's fraudulent space station program. And what's even more surprising than that is that he managed to make his entire address while keeping a straight face. So let's have a look, shall we? Please subscribe.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today I'd like to bring to your attention a potential fraud on an enormous scale happening in your county. There's now clear evidence of NASA using numerous methods to grossly mislead the public about astronauts being on the International Space Station.
Yeah, sure there is. And we all know that when he says there is now clear evidence that NASA is grossly misleading the public about astronauts being on the International Space Station, what he actually means is that he's watched videos online from other conspiracy theorists saying that there is now clear evidence of NASA grossly misleading the public about astronauts being on board the International Space Station. Poor guy. Did he not realize that these meetings are recorded and that people would actually see it?
During interior ISS scenes from NASA's own live feed, the use of wires, harnesses, green screens, and virtual reality have been detected to achieve the appearance of a weightless environment.
Oh, right, okay, here we go again. Well, no, and definitely not. Everything he just said has already been debunked multiple times. However, it's clear so far that all this guy is doing is quoting things he's seen in online videos from people like Level Earth Observer, who, as we all know, thinks that debunks everything. But it doesn't.
Examples of this include astronauts fading in and out of the screen, green screen glitches, and even astronauts appearing out of thin air.
Now, the fact that you think that was a green screen glitch demonstrates that you have absolutely no clue how video compression works, because the video feed from the ISS is heavily compressed to save bandwidth. Now, if you take my videos, for example, I film them in 4K because I'm fancy. But when I upload them to YouTube, they get compressed to save space on YouTube servers. And the way it does that is by not saving all the information for every frame of video you see. It only actually saves the information for the parts of the video that have changed since the last frame. So the shot you're looking at now, for example, it's only really the pixels that make me up that are changing from frame to frame. The background is essentially always the same. And as far as the astronaut magically appearing, well, that was nothing more than a slide transition. And the reason he looks like he's magically appeared is, well, it's this. Ta-da! And you can see the flags along the top behind him shift as the transition passes through. It's just two different clips rather than a person moving in front of a green screen. I don't see the confusion.
Grabbing objects that aren't really there, pulling on invisible wires, getting tangled in their harnesses.
See these two things? Well, I've got two of them, and thanks to my optician, they work pretty well. And they were the only things I needed to use to debunk this pulling on invisible wires nonsense. His little finger got caught up in the other astronaut's pocket. It's crystal clear if you pause the footage and look at it, which is really all I had to do. And as far as him getting tangled in a harness, well, he didn't, did he? He just lost his bearings for a second on account of him performing a backflip in a weightless environment.
This begs the obvious question. If they're really up there, why are they using Hollywood techniques to fake the footage?
Well, I'm glad you asked. And the truthful answer is they aren't, or at least not in the way you seem to think so. But as much as I've tried, I can't find any more information on that particular shot. But as I just said, and if I was a gambling man, I'd put my money on it being nothing more than a badly done transition, like I just said.
Now, unfortunately, I can't show you these clips in here today, but I will be sending them to you.
Oh, I bet they're so disappointed.
Outside the International Space Station, during spacewalks, air bubbles have been recorded on numerous occasions.
Debunked, even by me. But okay, air bubbles outside the ISS. The bubbles you think you see in space are not bubbles, but they are merely the release of trapped gases from materials such as plastics or metals that have been exposed to the vacuum of space. When these gases are released, they can form visible droplets around the astronaut or their spacesuit. And additionally, some of the air used to pressurize the spacesuit can escape through tiny little leaks or imperfections in the suit.
How is it possible for air bubbles to be present in the vacuum of space? I once questioned astronaut Scott Kelly about this phenomenon. His body language and answers only created more questions.
Yes, but I've already explained the bubbles you think you see in space. And imagine that, a person being uneasy having a conspiracy theorist asking him really stupid questions. Well, I mean, that almost never happens.
In 2013, astronaut Luca Parmitano nearly drowned during a spacewalk when his helmet filled with water.
The incident you're referring to occurred during a spacewalk on July the 16th in 2013, when Italian astronaut Luca Parmitano's helmet filled up with water. Now, the incident happened when Parmitano was on a spacewalk outside the International Space Station. The exact cause of the incident was determined to be a malfunction in the spacesuit's cooling system, which caused water to leak into Parmitano's helmet. The water came from a leak in the cooling loop that was responsible for removing heat generated by the spacesuit's electronics and the astronaut's own body. When the water started to fill Parmitano's helmet, it obscured his vision and made it difficult for him to hear and to communicate with the other astronauts, and even caused him to struggle to breathe. And the situation became so severe that NASA decided to abort the spacewalk and bring the astronauts back inside the ISS immediately. And after the incident, NASA conducted an investigation into the cause and made changes to the spacesuit's design and protocols for handling situations just like that. They also implemented new procedures to prevent future incidents from occurring.
This happened again just last year. Air bubbles, helmets filling with water, and drowning. Are they in space or are they underwater?
But they are in space, you can tell. All the clues are there, pal, just not the ones you think are there. And we all know that because everyone knows that NASA trains people in a water tank, and that people like you, who lack the capacity for independent thinking, seem to be under the misconception that that means NASA fakes all things space in a water tank. But you never stop to think that if it was filmed underwater, you'd know. And no, it wouldn't be because of bubbles. It would be because filming underwater always causes shadows to be fainter and softer than footage not filmed underwater, because the water is refracting light all over the place.
Now, what's really interesting is that they train for spacewalks in an underwater pool with a complete ISS replica. Now, surely they aren't filming these spacewalks in an underwater pool and then editing them to appear if they're in space.
I don't know anyone called Shirley. But if I did, I'm sure even she wouldn't be able to help you. Are you being serious? How the hell would you get rid of water in a video filmed underwater? Now, I realize that CGI is every conspiracy theorist's best friend, or at least they think it is, but even CGI isn't that good.
I'm calling on the Brevard County Commissioners to open a full investigation into NASA's fraudulent practices and use of taxpayer dollars.
So, you were calling on the Brevard County Commission to spend US taxpayer dollars to investigate whether or not NASA are wasting US taxpayer dollars. Have you ever heard the saying, you can't polish a turd? Well, dressing yourself up in a fancy suit isn't going to mask the fact that you're clearly an idiot, is it?
It costs NASA $3 billion per year to operate the ISS, and if they don't have a darn good explanation as to why they're faking these videos, I and the public would like a darn good explanation as to where our tax money is going.
Now, I've talked about NASA's budget in previous videos, but just to quickly recap, if the US annual budget was $1, which is 100 pennies in case there's any conspiracy theorists watching, then NASA's budget would equate to half of one of those pennies. And I feel compelled to put your mind at rest, Justin. You don't need to worry about US taxpayer dollars being wasted, especially on this, whatever you think this is.
And if they are indeed faking the funk, it is our duty to expose and eliminate this fraudulent and astronomically wasteful ISS program.
What did he say? Faking the funk? I don't know what that means. I must be even more uncool than I first thought, or I'm going deaf. And I see what you did there. Astronomically wasteful. Base joke.
And look, I know what you're all thinking.
No, you really don't. You will if you see this video, but trust me, you don't want to know what these people are thinking. Because if you did, your face would be roughly the same color as a beetroot. That is, if you have any self-awareness, which I don't think you do. Because if you did, then you wouldn't be doing what you're doing right now.
The NASA is part of the federal government, and you're just county commissioners. Even if what I'm saying is true, what can you do?
Well, that question wasn't really needed because what you're saying is not only not true, it's also incredibly stupid and also an actual waste of tax dollars. Because these people you've robbed of 3 minutes of their life that they're never getting back are all paid by the government using your tax dollars. And I can't for the life of me understand why one of these commissioners didn't just call for security.
But let me remind you, not only is this happening in your county, as public officials, you have the platform and the ability to make a statement or hold a press conference, alerting the public, state, and federal authorities to investigate further.
But if they did that, then they would be just as insane as you and every other conspiracy theorist that think any of what you've said is true.
You have the power to start the conversation. Video evidence of everything I described today will be emailed to you all, and I truly hope we can get to the bottom of this. I look forward to the day that $3 billion annual budget is put towards our veterans, our homeless, maybe some of that mental health stuff the young lady just spoke about, and the revitalization of Brevard County.
Right, let me get this straight. So you think that... Look, forget it. This guy is clearly a ham sandwich short of a picnic. And I would pay money to get a response from one of these county commissioners. Or is this the sort of thing that they see on a daily basis? I don't know. So, what do you think? Was this a dare? Was it a sketch maybe for a hidden camera TV show? Or is this Justin Harvey character just another one of the many people we all see every day online? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just in case you're wondering why this video is so short, well, there are 2 reasons. One, well, this video was only 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm not a miracle worker. And B, I spent most of today putting my PC back together. Looks like I'm better at this tech stuff than you all give me credit for. Thank you and a huge shout out to Dave McKeegan and M2M aka Matt for helping me out with some of the things I had to research for this video. Thanks to all the super thankers. Thankers. From the last video, I'm not... Oh, thank you. Richard Vine, Gary, Dwayne Young, and Piotrek Olzik, maybe? What are your thoughts on the Wednesday uploading, by the way? It seems as if the videos I've uploaded the last 2 Wednesdays are doing much better than they do when I upload them on a Tuesday. Or am I overthinking it again? In either case, thank you all so much for continuing to watch my useless ramblings. I do really appreciate your support. Until next time, love you, bye.
Alright, watch this next. But before you do, make sure you subscribe. By order of the Creaky Blinder.